Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Yahweh is the true name of Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai is the true name of the Heavenly Father's Son, the Son of Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and peace and blessings goes to the hopeful members of the elect, my brothers that are out in the highways, pushing His word and His truth and sincerity. In today's lesson, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, which Rachakodash is Hebrew for the Holy Spirit, and which I hope the Lord bestows upon me to do this lesson, which will be entitled, Woe be unto thee, Asia. Now, for us sincere believers of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, we know and see Esau's world coming to an end. All right, America's getting weaker and weaker by the day. All right, these other nations, they see that. They look at, the culture, the citizens, the government, the military. They look at all that, and they see that America is getting weaker and weaker. All right? They see that America's going down. America does not uphold or have the same power that they had in the 60s, in the 70s. At one point, all these nations feared America. But if you look at now, these nations don't. They're not afraid of America. And the reason for that is not only because America's going down, but they have the same power that America possesses, and that's the nuclear missiles. All right, let's get that real quick in Isaiah 14. Oh, I'll get to the point with this one. Well, I'll start at 9, all right? Isaiah 14 and 9. It says, Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee. Right now, the dead represents the other nations. All right? We're coming to... right now, we're in Esau's heaven. All right? This is Esau's world. This is his time to rule. But real soon, his heaven is about to turn into hell. All right? And these other nations are waiting for Esau's downfall. But little do these other nations know is that they're not going to rule, man. All right? They're not going to be the next one to rule like China. Right now, they're boasting, all proud, because they got a strong economy, strong militarily. All right? Creating allies and involving themselves in all aspects of the world, because they think they're the next one to rule. No, Jack, you're not. You Moabites had your time to rule. All right. After Esau's world comes to a complete, utterly end, these other nations are not gonna have a chance to rule. All these nations, they had a chance to rule. Esau is like the last nation that that's ruling. There's the last heathen nation that's gonna rule before Yahweh Shai and we being his people be joint heirs of his kingdom, be established on earth. All right, when you go to Daniel's second chapter, that stone is the one that destroyed that statue, which that stone represents Yahweh Shai. All right, because what these nations don't realize is that we're the next one to rule, the Israelites. And they don't see it because of the current state that we are in as a people, man. It's going to be a shock to the world to who's actually going to rule the earth. Who's actually going to have power. Because you Chinese and you other nations are not going to have power, man. All right? Slakia, it says, even all the chief ones of the earth, it hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Right. When America bombed Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that put fear on these other nations. All these other nations didn't want to fuck with America, man. That's why they willingly accepted the dollar and the trade in the dollar, and make merchandise, buy and sell using the Federal Reserve, using the dollar. Okay, and that's all because America had that power, had that ability to shoot missiles, man, to drop bombs, atomic bombs. But now that we're in the year 2025, the hopeful year of Esau's world, and his judgment coming to an end in the hopeful year of our deliverance. Okay, these nations have not nuclear missiles as well, just like America. Matter of fact, China, they got hypersonic missiles, which is just a delivery system for the ICBMs, but a hypersonic missile is more advanced than the ICBM, in which America does not have. America doesn't have hypersonic missiles. But you gotta keep that in mind. If God bless America, why is God's enemies? It's like, why does America's enemies, like North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia, why do they have the technology of hypersonic missiles? If the Lord blessed America, wouldn't America be the first one to have these type of weapons? All right. But these other nations, they have the same technology. They have the same ability to shoot missiles. This is why America is careful what they do with Russia. They're careful what they do with China. They don't want to go to war, because at the end of the day, they know that these nations have the missiles that they're going to end up shooting at America. All right. That they're going to end up shooting at America. Why do you think America and Israel is trying to work so hard to try to prevent Iran from creating a nuclear bomb? They constantly killed the nuclear scientists. They just recently bombed the shit out of Iran and all that, trying to stop them from making nuclear missiles. At the end of the day, these devils know they're going down, and they know exactly how they're going down. All right? And I'm going to say this again. This is why America's careful what they do with China, with Russia, because they have that ability. All right? That evens the playing field, man. Okay? So it says, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? All right? So not only do we see Esau's world coming to an end, these other nations see it too. But what they don't understand is that they're not going to rule. They're not going to be the next one to rule, man. We are. And they don't see it, like I said earlier. When you get that in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, in the 2nd verse, it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. Right? When they see what? When they see Yahweh shine the angels. All right, them being a so-called black people, so-called black man coming on earth, saving the Israelites. That's what the whole world's is getting ready to see right now. They shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. Right? Because when the Lord comes to deliver his elect, it's going to be strange, because he's going to beam us up into them chariots. All right, you're going to have chariots that's going to set fire to this place, set fire on people. And you're going to have chariots that's going to beam up people, the elect of the Lord's people, in front of the whole world. Okay? So far beyond all that they look for. Right? These nations they don't see us as next future rulers. They don't see us as gods of the earth. They don't see us as kings. They see us as niggas. They see us as monkeys. They see us as wild animals. And at a point, we can't blame them if you look at the condition of Jake. But at the end of the day, you Edomites are the one that push that vibration on our people, man. Okay? But the point is, these other nations, they don't see us as next future rulers. This is why when you talk about black people being king, or there's a movie portraying a black man, a so-called black man, or a so-called Latino man or Native American man being a king or having power, the people, the other nations, they get offended of it. They get offended of that, man. Oh, especially Esau, when they were in talks of having a so-called black man. I say so-called because we're not black, but having a so-called black man play Superman, they had power. They had problems with that. You had people that had problem with the cartoon version of Spider-Man with Miles, of him being dark skinned. Or Little Mermaid, they had problems. They had problem with that. What else? There was another movie that came out. I think it was Alice the Wonder. It was a Disney movie, but they had a Latin chick, and they had a problem with that. All right, but you world don't know that the ones that are in captivity, the ones that are being constantly oppressed here, are your future kings, are your future slave masters, man. And real soon the whole world is getting ready to know when the ultimate Judite comes on the scene, man, with his army, with the host of heaven. Okay? It says, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a proverb of reproach. Right, man. We're at the bottom of everything being an Israelite. We're at the bottom of every goddamn joke. Our lives are much harder. These other nations, they look down. They look down at us. Call all sorts of names, have all sorts of jokes against us. Sees Jake conditions, and just that's how they think we are. We're just niggas. All right, when they see Jake, they wanna fucking grab their bag or lock their car 20 times, man, or walk the other way. All right, or follow you around the liquor store, around the grocery store, because they just automatically think you're gonna steal something. All right, because these nations believe in these bywords that are put upon us as a people. We're made of it. We're like I said, we're at the end of every joke here, man. It says, we fools are counted as life madness and his end to be without honor. Right? They don't see us, like I said, they don't see us as kings. They don't see us as gods. They don't see us as the next rulers of the world. But right now you got these Chinese and these other nations thinking themselves to be the next future rulers. Nah, Jack, y'all had your time, man. Like I said, this is the last king. This Esau's world is going to be the last heathen captivity, all right, that we're going to be in as a people. It's going to be the last heathen rulership that's going to be on earth. Once Esau's world comes to an end, like it says in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, it's going to be the beginning of ours, and we're never going to go down. We're going to rule the earth for eternity, and we're going to rule it the right way, in righteousness, man. Okay? We're going to put you nations in subjection, like it says in Revelations 2 and 26, Psalms 2 and 8. Let's get that one real quick. Let me see if there's any more in that one. There's a little bit more, but let me just get Psalms 2 and 8. I brought out the main point that I wanted to bring out of that one. But this is Psalms chapter 2 verse 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right. This earth is ours. This world was made for our sakes. All right. But before we can have the earth to be ours forever, we had to go through this period of captivity under these other nations. The Lord had to give you heathens a chance to rule. All right. But the time is coming where we're about to have you heathen as our slaves and all the earth for our possession. You're going to have to abide under all laws, all rules, which is governed, by the laws, statutes, commandments. All right. You're not going to be able to worship other gods in our kingdom, which are really no gods but idols. You're not going to be able to eat what you want to eat. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do, because we're going to be on your ass, man. Okay? We're going to be on your ass 24/7. You're going to have to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments, man. Okay? It says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Right, we're going to dash you other nations. And the Lord gives us that power, man. We're about to shock the world, man. We're going to shock the world. All right, the world's about to be shocked. All right, because hey, it's good that they see Esau's kingdom going down. They see America not having, they're trying to get out of that America's grip of domain, of being a nail, of them being a nail and America being a hammer. They want to be the ones in power, but you're not. Okay, you're not the next one in power. But let me get this video. Let me play this video, man, because this got me. I was like, wow, these fucking Moabite ancestors, these Moabite can't even open their eyes fully. Think they're gonna rule the earth? Yeah, you got technology. Yeah, you got a military, but your military is gonna be for us. When we come down and the Lord makes us his battle axe and weapons of war, that's gonna be for us. We're gonna have fun with y'all, man. We're gonna think of different ways to destroy all that military might. It's gonna be too easy work, man. You see all these kung fu movies and shit, and there's all these Chinese just kicking everybody's ass all at once, doing all this kung fu, man. We're gonna show you real kung fu, man. And you ain't gonna be able to stop us. Not your guns, not your laser weapons, not your drones, nothing is gonna be able to stop us. I don't care how many goddamn bricks you break with your head, your forehead you do. All right, we don't even gotta look at you. We could turn you into dust. That's how powerful we're gonna be. Lord's about to make us gods again. But, slack you for a little ramp. Let me get to it.
Ping has a vision for the world that's run by Beijing's rules. As he hosts world leaders here in Tianjin, a port city in northern China, he's expected to showcase China as an alternative global leader. For too long, in Xi Jinping's eyes, the U.S. and its allies have unfairly dominated the international order at the expense of countries like China and Russia. Now, as U.S. President Donald Trump wages a global trade war and shakes up American alliances, Xi Jinping sees an opportunity to win more countries on to China's vision. At the top of his guest list is Russian President Vladimir Putin, another leader who shares Xi's vision to rebalance the global power against the U.S. and its allies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is joining too, as well as leaders from Pakistan and Iran and others, as Xi Jinping looks to show how diverse and broad a group of nations he can bring together. Next week, he'll hold a massive military parade where more than 25 leaders will attend, according to Chinese officials, including North Korea's Kim Jong-un. And while Xi may not be explicit in mentioning the U.S. in his public addresses to world leaders in the coming days, reading between the lines, we can expect him to cast the U.S. and its allies and its alliance system as responsible for global security conflicts and to show China as a protector of globalized trade. All in all, Xi Jinping has a message. China has an alternative vision for the world. It challenges the one offered by the U.S., and more countries are signing on. Chinese leadership as an alternative.
This part, because he said I can't really hear because every time I record this thing is like this. But let's see if I can put it louder. I can't. I want to get this point.
For too long, in Xi Jinping's eyes, the U.S. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has a vision for the world that's run by Beijing's rules. As he hosts world leaders here in
a vision of the world that is run by Beijing's rules. China, basically. These Chinese people think that they're next one to rule, man. You're not going to rule. All right? You're not the next one to rule, man. You had your time. Because whenever the nation of Israel was in captivity, and whatever nation had them in captivity, that nation had basically power. Power was given onto them to rule, because remember that this earth was inherently created and made for our sakes. That's what Ezra said. All right, let's get that. I know I want to get the point, and we'll be on to the age of which I'll probably end it there. But let me get that in what Ezra said. All right, the prophet Ezra. That's in 2nd Ezra 7. Oh no, 6 and 55. All right, that's good. All praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. This is 2nd Ezra 6. Points in like 57, but I'm gonna start at 55. It says, "All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes." Right, the world is made for our sakes. This earth that we're inhabit, that we currently live in, all right, is ours. The so-called black man, Latino, and Native American man. And other people hear this and they'll look at us like we're crazy. You black men, you guys in the ghetto. You guys don't even know how to read and write. You guys sag your pants. You guys drink, all these stereotypical and all these jokes about us, man. These nations, they don't respect us because why? We don't have no power. We're literally at the bottom. They're literally over us right now, which is a punishment that we have to bear for a certain period of time, which is about to be over, of having these nations rule over us. Okay, it says, as for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing. Right, these other nations, you're nothing. The Lord looks at you as such, as nothing. All right, like a drop, you like a drop as a bucket, or like spittle, man. All right, it says, but be like unto spittle, right, like spit, and as like in the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Right, you're useless. You're not useless, but you're nothing. Your only purpose that the Lord created you basically was to serve us. You're gonna serve us forever, man. Okay. It says, and now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, right? You counted as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us, right? To be rulers over us. Now these other nations that are nothing, that are counted as nothing, are now ruling over us. Now they're devouring us, have us as captivity, having us keep their laws and their ways, and have us, at the bottom, devouring us, oppressing us. These weak heathens. Oh man. But that shows you the power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because the Lord is the one that allowed these heathens to punish us, to put us in captivity, to oppress us, which we're currently being oppressed and currently in captivity to this day under Esau, Edom. It says, verse 58, but we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. Right, we're the Lord's chosen people. We're his firstborn. Whatever is first is very precious to the Lord. But now we're given into these heathens' hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? And this was a sincere question that Ezra was asking. If you said that the earth was made for our sakes, why are these heathens ruling over us? Why we're not possessing what you gave us? And that's all because we sinned against the Lord. And it's also because we have to go through this process of being at the bottom, because we're going to be so great, man. In order to be great, you have to be at the bottom. You have to come from somewhere. The greatest always come from the bottom, always come from the hard life, trouble life. Like, for example, a lot of UFC fighters and all that, like when it comes to mind, Charles Oliveira, he lived in the slums. Look at him, and now he making money, doing good. Jake come from the bottom, and they become, you got Jake that come from nothing and it become great. Well, we come from this world. We come from captivity. We all lives, all we know is to be in captivity. But real soon we're going to be gods. We're going to be kings, which we're in a process. We're in the learning process of all that, man. We're in the learning process of being what is like, of being a king, being a god. We're in that process. There's a process that we're going through. But we have to be in captivity. We have to learn wickedness, because we're going to judge the nations. We're going to judge the world. Okay? So let's get 2nd Ezra 15, because these these Asians, man, these Moabites and Japanese and Koreans, North Koreans, South Koreans, all these nations, these Elamites, these India, these people from India, they think they're gonna, nah, man, your time's up, man. Elam, you ruled, man. You already ruled. Okay, you already had your time. You're not gonna rule again. Moab, you already had your time. You're not gonna rule again. All right. But this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 46. It says, "And thou, Asia, thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person." Right, in Asia, you can imply, Asia is like a whole continent. But you could, what are the countries that are in Asia? China, Korea, countries like Japan and all that. It says, "Thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretched, because thou hast made thyself like unto her." Right, America, these different Asian continents, Asia countries, like I'll just use China for example, since they're the main topic, since they're the main, right? They're the one I'm using to make this lesson. All right, you have made yourself like America through what you call Americanization. You copied the ways of America. You took what you like of America and applied it to your culture, man. All right, let's read that again. It says, "Woe be unto thee." Woe is destruction. So destruction unto thee. So this is a prophecy. Since you want to follow the ways of America and copy the ways of America, you're going to get the same judgment as America. Now, China, other parts are not going to be utterly destroyed with missiles. But there are going to be certain places that the Lord's going to allow get hit. All right? The Lord's going to show you that you're not the next future rulers, man. See, the Lord's already showing you through his prophets, because he has it written. The Lord already knows these heathens. He knows, all right, and he's the one that gave your military might. He's the one that gave you that million-man army. And it's not so you could take down America and be the next global power, so that we could have fun. That his men that he's about to give power to, they're gonna have fun. So prophecies like one shall chase 1,000 and 10 is 10,000s, man. We're gonna have fun destroying and demolishing your military force. All right, when we come back on the earth after the nuclear destruction, man, it's gonna be fun. All right, but it says, "Woe be unto thee, thou wretched, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee." Right, like I said, going into basically Americanization, how Asia, these different countries, copy the ways of America and incorporate in their countries to their people. Okay, let me see. Right here I have ChatGPT. Right, I asked this question. Give me some information about Americanization of Eastern Asia, right? This is the way that what we read in verse 47. All right, how they made thyself like unto her, they decked thy daughters in whoredom, and glory in thy lovers, right? And have committed whoredom with thee. This is an example of it. And we were about to read the military and security influence, because America has a lot of influence on the whole world. All right. Japan after World War II, the U.S. occupied Japan 1945 to 1952. We wrote its constitution, especially Article 9 banning offensive war, and set up by U.S. military base that still exists to this day. South Korea, the Korean War, Taiwan. Let me see. I'm gonna get to the point because there's a lot of information. But the same thing: military and security influence, economic and Americanization. The U.S. pushed Japan toward a capitalist free market model, American-style corporations, management practices, and consumerism became deeply rooted. Right, and that's a way that a country like Japan copied the ways of America. All right, they market the whole style based off, the American style, through the, corporations, the management practices, consumerism. Japan is known for a lot of, also known for a lot of being consumers as well. South Korea. With U.S. aid, South Korea adopted export-driven capitalism modeled partly on America, which transformed it from poverty in the 1950s to a tech giant by the 1990s. Taiwan and Hong Kong both become U.S.-linked trade hubs, blending Asian industry with American capitalism. China, post-1978, Deng studied America's capitalist system and selectively applied it through special economic zones, basically importing U.S.-style capitalism under Communist Party control. And also, like, even the way that these Asian countries build their lands. You know, like, you have cities, I think a popular Chinese city. I don't know the city. It's slipping my mind, but I know it starts with the S, Shanghai, something like that. It looks kind of like New York, but way more technology, way more advanced and cleaner, way more funner. But at one point, America was like the place to be, the place to go, and it still is, in a way. Okay? But now, throughout the years, you have all these other Asian countries like Japan, South Korea, China. If you look at the cities, it's fashioned off America. They copied the ways of America. The cities, the buildings, and all that, man. Even the food places. Shouldn't have seen no damn McDonald's over there in China or in Japan, but you got those. All right, much healthier version, I believe, but the fact that they copy all that from America. Political and social systems. Japan, the U.S. introduced a democratic constitution, elections, and freedom of speech, press, major American political exports. So they brought in democracy, and that's like the cup that these nations have drunk. I can mention, I think, Revelation 17, all right, or 18, one of those chapters, how these nations drank of the cup and they are mad. The democracy, the ways of America, the philosophy of America, which they put on their citizens. Okay, it says South Korea and Taiwan both started under authoritarian rule, right? But eventually democratized it in the 1980s and 1990s. The U.S. influence and pressure playing a role, right? U.S. has a big influence. All right, allowing the people, which all that shit's rigged anyway, allowing the people to vote the next rulers, which, like I said, is all rigged. Right now, Taiwan, I believe, I'm just speaking as a man, just as a thought. The reason why, China has invaded Taiwan, because you have two political leaders right now that are trying to be elected. One of them is really on China's side, doesn't want China, so they on China's side, and the other one is still on America's side. So, but the point is, Taiwan, which was at one point China, but it broke off and became their own country based off their structure and their ways and how they run things and who decides is going to be their leaders. It's all influenced by America. All right? American League and corporate structures like shareholder, corporation, universities, and courts influence Eastern Asia's governance. Right, man? Because, hey, like, I believe the guy that I'm not really good with names, but the guy that really decided to invade Pearl Harbor or do the Pearl Harbor attack, he went to school over here in America. I have a lot of these nations that come from these other countries to get school here, man, just to get it, come here to go to school. All right. Culture and lifestyle, pop culture, jazz, rock and roll, later hip-hop, Hollywood movies, and American TV shows spread widely in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and later China. Food and retail, McDonald's, KFC, Coca-Cola, Levi's, Nike, and Starbucks became cultural symbols in Asian countries and Asian cities. Education, many Asian students studied in the U.S. and brought back American ideas about science, business, and technology. Language, English became a dominant second language, especially in business and education across Eastern Asia. Technology and business. Japan copied and improved American manufacturing methods for the assembly line. That's why they have their own. You got a lot of Japanese cars brought here. Honda, Toyota, Lexus. All those are Japanese cars. Nissan, Infiniti. Okay? You can see where they got how to make their cars. They modeled all that from America. China built tech giants, all right, after studying U.S. models like Amazon, Cisco, and Facebook. Ideological influence. The U.S. promoted the American dream idea of success, communism, and modern living. Eastern Asian nations adapted this into their own national dreams. Japan's post-war miracle, Korea's miracle on the Heian River, China's dream. All right, so you get the point. All right. So let's go back to verse 47. I read that already. Verse 48. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions, therefore saith the Most High. Right, because you got China trying to rule, but you're not doing it. You're doing it based off the copying of America. Even like what they call it. What's that word? Engineering. Let me see. I had said it here too, but I looked it up earlier. Reverse engineering. There you go. Reverse engineering. Where China, they copy a lot of militarily stuff, jets and equipment off America. Why do you think they've been hearing on the news that a lot of these American soldiers are being arrested for giving secretive, sensitive U.S. intel of ships, how they formation, how they look like, to Chinese spies? Because China's trying to copy everything of America because they see America being a great military force. Now they're a great military force, but all that is through copying America. All right. It says, "Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death." Right, man. So you Chinese, you other nations, you're not gonna rule, man. You're not the next one to rule. Just because Esau's world come to an end, don't rejoice off that, man. Yeah, you could be happy, but all that sorrow, all that joy is gonna come be short lived, because the Israelites, Yahweh Shai, and the Israelites, man. When Yahweh Shai returns and puts you in subjection, you're gonna be so weak that you cannot. The Lord's gonna bring fire upon you, or bring judgment upon you that you're not gonna be able to rule. Let's read that again. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, and famine, sword, and a pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. Right? These other countries, they're gonna get judged. Not as great as America is, but they're going to get judges too. They're going to get judged as well. They're going to get judged to the point where they know they're not going to be able to rule. The Lord's going to bring down that pride immediately, man. As soon as Yahweh Shai, when you see Yahweh Shai in the skies, it's over. You're not going to rule. You're not going to install your ways upon the world. You're not going to be the next future rulers. You're not going to be the next America, because your ass is going to be judged by the Lord. Excuse me, for my language, but it says, verse 50, "In the glory of thy power," right? The glory, the power, the might that we see that China has right now, and these other Asian countries, they have glory, they have power right now. They're great economically, they're great militarily. You can see it. Even Esau, like, hey, you better learn Mandarin. Nah, man, you better learn Hebrew. Yeah, Lashawan Kodash, the holy tongue. That's what you better learn next. You don't gotta worry about speaking that Mandarin shit, man. Sounds retarded. Okay? You better learn Hebrew. All right, because but Esau says that because they see China as the next ruler. You even got generals that are worried about China, man. They know that America can't win against China and all that. They're afraid of China, but nah, you should be afraid of the Lord and His angels, which you are. You should be more afraid. You should be more worried about the Lord, man. You should be more worried about the Israelites, because we're the next one to rule, man. We're gonna and it's gonna be easy work. Not gonna be a long-lived war, like long-lived 5-year war between Yahweh Shai and the angels versus Esau and his military might and other nations. No, man, this is gonna be all done within 1 hour, man. Esau's world is gonna be done in 1 hour. It's gonna be destroyed. In 1 hour, all these nations are gonna be put in subjection. That's how easy it is gonna be. All right. When that destruction takes place, when it's time for us to come back down on earth, we're going to come back down. We're going to set things in order and put you nations in subjection, filling what I read earlier in Psalms 2 and 8 and Revelation 2 and 26. All right? We're going to take the world because it's ours. Like we read in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, the world is created for our sake, so we're going to take it back, man. You Chinese are not going to have that power. All right, you're gonna be too weakened. You're gonna be too worried about what's the judgment and the fire that the Lord's gonna bring upon you. So all that glory, all that power you had, like it says, and the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. It's gonna be dried up as a flower, man. It's gonna be weakened. It's gonna be gone, be dead, and you're gonna rise back up. Because right now they have some type of glory, some type of power, but even Esau is kind of afraid. But hey, these Moabites, they're in cahoots with Esau's new order too. Let's not forget about that. But even Esau, they see China. They're watching China. Why do you think China did all the military prayer? They did that knowing that America's gonna watch. All right, they showed a lot too. They showed a lot of the soldiers, all unmanned drones or laser weapons. They unmanned, they showed a lot. The tanks. They definitely showed their mind. They were in order too. Like, damn. You're Edomite, you should be afraid. You shouldn't be worried about the Chinese. You should be worried about Yahweh Shai and the angels, man. All right? Because that million-man army that Chinese got ain't for you. Even though they're going to, shoot missiles on America. Even though they're going to go to war with America, Middle East. But that million-man army is for us. The Israelites. When we come back to take the world. Lord will now be my next lesson. I was gonna do that one first, but then I saw that and I was like, I gotta do this. But Slocky for the little rant. It says, and the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee. All right, and then you look up the word dried up. All right, chat GPT, dried up as a flower, just meaning, right? Losing life or vitality. Just as a flower withers and loses its beauty once it dries up. Weakness or decline. When someone's strength, joy, or hope is gone. Right. And you other nations, your joy that you have right now of you seeing America going down, you're going to be the next one to rule because you don't see us, the Israelites, the so-called black man, Latino, Native American man being the next ruler. All that joy is going to be wiped away. All right, when you see Yahweh Shai, the angels, when you see that nuclear destruction, when the earth shakes, it's gonna be a lot of death and destruction, man. So that's gonna be happening. All right. It says hope is gone. What are these Chinese and other nations hoping for to rule? They're hoping to rule. They're hoping to have the power that America has. Because think about it. We read up earlier how all the things that that China and these other nations copied off America. Don't you think they want the same power that America has, or all nations does according to its will? All right. They don't you think China want that power? They want that power, but they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna have dominion of the earth. All right, because Yahweh Shai is coming. He's not only gonna take down Esau's kingdom. He's gonna destroy all these kings and kingdoms, man. The whole world's gonna see. He's gonna set fire to the whole world, man. destroy a lot. A lot of people are gonna turn to dust, smell of smoke. A lot of buildings are gonna be destroyed. A lot of fires are gonna be set place. You're gonna have nuclear, like I said, America and Israel are gonna be utterly wasted. We're gonna have certain parts of the world be hit with missiles too. Certain parts of China and other places. Because the Lord, we read earlier, man, the Lord, we go up, it says he's gonna send the sword, famine, poverty, pestilence to waste our houses, destruction and death. What could bring that? A nuclear missile. Which, like I said, China is not going to be utterly destroyed by missiles, but you may have certain places, certain cities that the Lord allow be hit. And, also wherever, the main focus is America. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, as one chastised with wounds, so that thy might and lover shall not be able to receive thee. All right. So woe be unto thee, Asia. You're not gonna rule, man. We're gonna rule. We're the next future rulers. The Lord is already written that judgment is coming upon you. All right. All that glory and power you have is gonna be dried up as a flower. All that joy, hope, strength that you have is going to be dried up, dead, and wither away. Never going to be brought up again. Never going to rule again. All right, your future is to serve the Israelites. That's going to be your future. Moab is my wash pot. Remember that. Shalom.